just when you thought you've seen everything Lane Hutson could do, he's doing more stuff than we could have ever imagined, including a hip check on Adrian Kempe and playing the most minutes for any player in the NHL this season in a game that didn't go to overtime, as he played over 30 minutes despite the loss. We got to get into Lane Hutson and some of the crazy standards he's setting, including being on power play 1 for Montreal with Mike Matheson injured. But Jesse, we also got to talk about Ivan Demidov and 2 new conflicting articles coming out about his contract status in Russia and the real reason behind why he's not playing very much. We have an anonymous source versus Roman Rottenberg himself going head to head. We're going to get into all of that coming up on this episode of Habs Digest. And Jesse, let's start with this Demidov stuff, because honestly, to me, it is absolutely wild. And it just got a lot more confusing. Because we've heard lots of reports. Roman Rottenberg's getting asked after every game saying the American media is not treating this with any respect. But in an article just today from Journal de Montréal, they had an anonymous source. And they were saying, Ivan Demidov, he was put on the bench, all this stuff. But they said in the article here, I'll translate to English, Ivan refused 3 times to extend with SKA. He doesn't want to stay there for another year. He wants to come to North America. And then when talking about Roman Rottenberg, the same anonymous source said, you're wasting your time trying to find a logic. Rottenberg has done this to several other players in the past. He doesn't understand what you need to go about it in other ways to convince a player with his potential to stay. Now, Jesse, before we get into our boy Roman's quotes themselves, what are your thoughts on this, without knowing the context from Roman, to hear that it's quite possible that as soon as Demidov turned down these contracts, he got benched? I would actually believe that. It's kind of crazy to hear one of their sources confirm this.
And that's what I think is the case as well. I think it's obviously like SKA is going to shoot their shot. As Roman Rottenberg said himself, he's one of those, Demidov's one of the players that's the future of Russian hockey. So, of course, they're going to try and do everything to have him stay. This is a huge offensive talent. He's definitely going to be putting people into the arena excited to watch him play. So I definitely feel it's like kind of one of those situations, right, where, maybe it's a little bit of spite, as we've kind of been indicating here on the channel, of the reason of him not getting that ice time, him kind of refusing it, and them maybe not wanting to kind of invest time. And sure, you can kind of make that argument a lot of ways. I just feel like Demidov, while he's there, is a player that just can help your team so much as well. So I think you're kind of just shooting yourself in the foot, no matter what way you want to slice it, by not playing Ivan Demidov there. But I think that absolutely this is what it comes down to. They're trying to get him to stay. Ivan Demidov has other plans for other reasons. Josh, I think we just need to wait till May 31st of this year. Ivan Demidov is counting the days. Then we're going to have him over.
100%. It's going to be great to see him. But this is very interesting coming from Journal de Montréal. Their anonymous source basically saying, like, you know what? Roman's done this before, and he'll probably do it again. But there was another article that came out today as well, Jesse. But this comes from RG.org from Marco D'Amico, who spoke with Roman Rottenberg, or at least had quotes from Roman Rottenberg. And here's what Roman had to say. He said, we're considering the opinions of our colleagues in Montreal, but we're focused on our own needs and tactics and how our players are feeling. We're no less interested than Montreal in making sure that Ivan, just like the other players, develop well, because guys like him are the future of Russian hockey. But the unfortunate reality for young KHLers is that they are often victims of circumstance. Interesting. And he goes on to say that there's huge competition in the lineup. The world's best players in their respective positions are playing for SKA. They have Kuznetsov, they have D'Angelo. It speaks volumes. And to beat out these veterans, you have to push hard during practice. You can't just rely on your talent to be successful. And I don't know if this is him calling out Demidov. I don't think it's necessarily him saying there's a lack of effort. But it doesn't quite seem to ring true when you watch the production. Jesse, though Demidov was back on the third line today, I just can't help but question everything. I'm not saying Roman's lying. I can't help but question things when you have 2 conflicting sources like this on the exact same subject.
Yeah, definitely some curious comments there, from Rottenberg when it comes to it. Again, the anonymous source from the Journal de Montréal kind of echoing my thoughts. That it's hard to quite find the logic there quite exactly, but it even goes on to say that, like, Ivan Demidov knew about this before the season would start. He knew that they would try to get him over. He would kind of refuse that. And because of it, there's a long history now of several players, even Askarov kind of getting put into that column a little bit as well, of not playing as much as a result of not wanting to kind of stay. He was even asked, like, apparently the source is saying that, like, he'd be open to going to the VHL if he's paying like 20 minutes. That he'd be open to that. But apparently Roman Rottenberg he doesn't want to allow that at all. He's kind of feeling the pressure now a little bit too. And he knows that he's too good. Ivan Demidov is too
Yes,
good
he
for the
is.
VHL, right? So he's kind of in that no man's land a little bit, Josh. But I have to say, I love that he's feeling the pressure, from this side of the pond, to get Demidov some more ice time here.
That's fun. It's fun to see this play out. Not so fun to watch him not play very much, but Demidov's minutes have ticked up over the last few games, including a goal 2 games ago. So we'll just have to wait and see, like you said, Jesse. But let us know your thoughts down below on all these conflicting reports, and who do you believe? I got a funny feeling I know who you're going to say, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. But we're going to move on to the game, Jesse, because yes, it was a loss. It doesn't matter, but I am shocked by what I saw from Lane Hutson. Now, again, he had a good game. I'm not going to go out here and say, I feel like sometimes on Twitter and on other social medias, people are like, Habs fans praising Lane Hutson for being a -4. He's the best player ever. Look, I'm not saying he was like some super duper star out there tonight. He was a -2, whatever. But Jesse, he did something that absolutely shocked me. Look at the minutes. I know Mike Matheson went out with an injury, and that really does suck. And you hate to see that. We'll have to wait and see. We don't have any updates as of now. He only played 7.5 minutes tonight. But Lane Hutson, Jesse, played 30 minutes and 5 seconds. By far the most ice time on the team. It's the most ice time by any player in a game that ended in regulation all season up to this point. 24 minutes of even strength ice time. 5.5 minutes on the power play. I think he looked really good tonight, including laying this check that I'll play one more time. I mean, look, this guy looks like one of the only guys that has come and really showed up ready for the season so far this year, and he is really setting that tone. And I just got to say that seeing him on PP1, seeing him get 30 minutes of ice time just shows how much faith this organization already has in him.
And coming into this game, he was already leading all the rookies in the NHL in ice time. Now he goes to leading all the players in the NHL in a game that doesn't go to overtime. Like, this is absolutely unreal. Just the fact playing the most than any other Montreal Canadian, being so young, right? And he was kind of one of those players where in a close game where it's just a game of inches, right? Where a lot of the plays he made, if we could have just kind of capitalized on that. Obviously, it's a much different game. He continues his great play, but you touched on the PP1, Josh, and with the injury to Matheson, right? When we also saw Hutson kind of come out at first, we're like, okay, did Marty kind of make this? Or, okay, we now see that maybe that was kind of influenced by Matheson's injury, but you have to feel like it was almost a coin flip at this point in time. Like, Marty was hearing the noise too. He was seeing it with his own eyes, what Lane Hutson could do. And you have to wonder, like, is this a sign, even though it's an unfortunate injury for Matheson, of Hutson now getting that spot permanently on the PP1 where he just kind of gets those reps? You have to feel like, he'll be successful in that. You have to wonder how that kind of shakes up for when Matheson's back. In my opinion, I think this is the beginning of seeing Hutson on the PP1, just the way that the cookies crumble in here.
Well, even before Matheson went out with injury, we saw it was Hutson with Guhle, and it was Matheson with Barron, and that's what the Habs were running for a bit in this game. And again, like, that to me is a sign that, we saw what was working, and we're going to keep going to it. And if Hutson keeps producing on the power play, now again, they didn't really score on the power play, even with Hutson on it today, so you're going to need a bit of a bigger sample size, but I think it definitely is a sign that this could happen. But yeah, unbelievable stuff from Lane Hutson, the amount of trust he's getting put in him right now, and even his defense has been stepping up a little bit. Still a ways to go, still a bunch of things to learn, Jesse, but the fact that he looks so comfortable already is so amazing. But there were other players in this game, and I did want to give a shout out to Justin Barron, who led the Montreal Canadiens in game score tonight. He scored a goal, a beautiful goal on a wraparound, and we got Nick Suzuki and Cole Caufield assisting on it as well. Caufield up to 4 goals, 1 assist for 5 points in 5 games now. Suzuki up to 4 points in 5 games. That top line looked good for certain stretches of this game. Again, that by far that most used forward line. They were the only forwards other than Kirby Dach to play more than 15 minutes tonight. Even Slaf, without a point, had 4 block shots and 5 hits and 2 takeaways. So it's like, give him a break for all the people who were calling him out for not getting a point. But Justin Barron, Jesse, he was the one guy, I think, other than Lane Hutson, who really stepped up tonight. And I was a bit surprised, considering Guhle or Struble was good to go, to not see Struble in the lineup tonight. But I think Barron maybe saw that fire coming behind him. He's like, I got to run. And he came out and he had a really good game. And I thought him and that top line had some real good stretches together tonight.
I've been really impressed by the beginning of the season, even though it hasn't been perfect. We know he's more of an offensive defenseman, and sometimes if there are faults with his game, it does come in the defensive end. But Josh, we've seen a couple big hits. Like, I had to do a couple double takes in the previous games, like when I saw those big hits, because they were massive. I was like, did Justin Barron just do that? And like, he did it twice just to let us know for sure that he did, right? And again, like a beautiful goal showing his mobility, and nice to see him being a little bit more assertive in the offensive zone, because it's kind of not the first time where he's made a great first move, but then you've seen him kind of pass it or kind of, opt for a little bit more of a passive play. Whereas here, he makes that great move in the offensive zone, knows he has the goalie right where he wants it, and then really capitalizes on it. So, I mean, this is really huge for him. If he can just kind of round out some of those other parts of his game and bring in this sort of contributions offensively while laying the body, you have to like that at least we're seeing some positive developments from his game early on this season.
Yeah, I really like it. I mean, we thought he looked nervous in past games or whatever, maybe not comfortable, but that rapper, like, I mean, if you want to see confidence, that's what it looks like. But yeah, really good stuff from him. Just a few other notes before the video ends. We're not going to focus on too many of the negative things. We'll wait and see on Matheson's health update. Shout out to Oliver Kapanen, who's still playing on the power play. 2 minutes of power play time, over 10 minutes. Not so much of a shout out to Christian Dvorak, who only took 4 faceoffs tonight, was only 25% on him. A couple of crucial ones as well. Played less than 10 minutes, is what it is. He's had a decent start to the season. But Jesse, we got to talk a bit about Monty just before we end this video, because this is our boy. He was locked in tonight. The first 2 goals that LA put past him, I mean, there's nothing he could have done. That second goal from Laferriere, as he tipped it from like the hash marks and it bounced off the ice, whatever. The last one was just straight top cheese, whatever. Monty has looked really, really good so far this season, and I know the Habs have talked about this a lot, how much confidence he gives them. I know Suzuki, he pretty much said after the game that the Habs didn't do, well, he wasn't talking specifically about Monty, but he said it was an immature effort from Montreal. They should have pressed LA more. They're on the second night of a back-to-back, and they didn't do it. And kind of in turn, Jesse, in my head, it's like, man, yeah, they did kind of leave Monty out to dry a few times. They didn't press as much. LA had too many easy chances off sloppy turnovers. Monty did everything he could. He stopped Fiala on a penalty shot and a breakaway. He made a lot of tough saves. Couldn't quite get it. But this guy is making that case for the Four Nations Cup every single day.
Absolutely. And firstly, we'll just touch on Suzuki. I think some really strong comments from him, just because this is a really young team. So it's totally right to say, sometimes that we should have put forth a little bit of a stronger effort. This is exactly what Marty wants, a little bit more accountability now. Okay. We're a younger team, but we're starting to get a little bit older. So we start to recognize the error of our ways right away and look to kind of adjust that. But yeah, Monty gave us a chance to win tonight for sure. Some phenomenal stops. Again, we were so close right to the very end. Dach had that set up to Newhook. If it wasn't for Spence's sake, obviously this is like Suzuki being robbed right on the doorstep as well. Riddick, obviously his counterpart in this game for the LA Kings, the goaltender for them, making some brilliant saves, but Monty was right there for us all the way. It's those tip shots. I think it's learning to kind of get away from the screening. Of course, the face-off dot, it's those usual suspects that kind of let us down. The best part, though, is knowing, okay, at least they know what they need to work on. It's the face-off dot. It's really kind of a big one, and kind of eliminating some of those slot opportunities. If they can kind of tighten up those things, it'll help a lot. Suzuki, 47% on the face-off dot for him tonight. You want to see him even improve on that a little bit, in the future as well. Josh, just quickly, what's your thoughts here, with the face-offs for the Canadiens? With Dach, with the trouble that, kind of Dvorak's been having, what do you think is kind of the remedy to kind of help in this face-off solution with the Montreal Canadiens?
Reps. And actually, I was surprised. I thought Suzuki was low too. He's actually at 67% tonight, according to this. So I'm not too bad. Oh, really? And Dach was 4-0, but it was Dvorak who lost a lot of crucial ones. It's not just the volume, though, because the volume can tell you something, but didn't it feel like this whole game? That's the thing. We thought, and the announcers were saying, and we felt that the faceoffs were getting lost so many times for Montreal. It felt like every crucial draw was going against Montreal. I don't know if that's pressure or what. I don't know if you got to put Jake Evans out there to take the draw every single freaking time. It's in your own zone, but it certainly feels like it. So it's those crucial draws, and I don't know what's going to fix it other than reps and reps and reps. Because once you see that that's what's costing you games, they're gonna be pointing that out in practice. They're gonna be pointing that out in wherever they are. And I know Phil Deneau, when he was in Montreal, was given a lot of those reps. We'll see what Christian Dvorak can keep on doing, because that was one of his big positives last year. It's not quite there this season. But let us know your thoughts on all this down below. We'd love to hear from you, because that'll do it. This episode went a bit longer for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel like you all know how to do, and we really appreciate it. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.